the older boys were working pretty diligent, and they got their caps in and their collars in and their knobs in, and they were actually doing some pretty good sanding. They were in pretty good shape. These were the older boys, and the younger boys were not quite up to that speed yet. We did make some jigs for this activity so that they drilled the holes in the where the throat goes, and then there was a jig for drilling the holes in the caps. Uh, we took a router and put a round over bit and ran the canteens on both edges around this, so it just knocked the edge of it off, and used the orbital sander to clean them up before they went through the laser. Also put the sander to use with vacuum, and did a lot of work with the sander, taking all the little parts that weren't done. There were 10 canteens that had quite a bit of work left to do on them as far as stabilizing them. They had the collars that weren't ready, they weren't glued together, and the stoppers weren't glued together, and the little saddles over those were not sanded. So went ahead and brought all the canteen kits up to speed, and fixed a couple things. This one had a big hole in a knot that a knot had cracked and fallen out, and it had a hole about that size in it right here. So I ended up cutting this out with a Forstner bit, created a plug for it, and then plugged it, and it'll be good as new. Throw some beeswax in there, and it'll work just fine. These are a couple of the boys that they had sanded. I had to go back through and restabilize a lot of these cracks with some super glue, and then resanded them. But they had done a good job. Here there were about almost getting up to 14 or 15 there. This is a pad that we use for sanding. I'll lay them down on there and sand on them, and keeps from scarring them up. They're getting real close to being finished. This is just a router that's mounted to a board upside down. It acts like a mini shaper. And here are all the boys' canteens laid out, and they each one was, I asked them to write something that they wanted on the top of their canteen, and then if they had a logo, and so we were able to burn some of them in. Some of them kind of just look at you. Other guys have their ideas right off the get go, and they're ready to go, and it's kind of fun to do that. I think some of them are going to take them home and wood burn them in and do some things with that along that line. Lots of little working behind the scenes on these. They were a lot of fun. I probably would go with a little better quality wood if I do this again. But, one thing about carpentry and woodworking, that's just part of it, is you just fix it as you go. And these came out really nice. Once we put a stain or a clear coat over them, they'll come out really pretty. And each one of the boys is kind of funny. They all got to pick what they wanted on their canteen. And, if they wanted a logo, they got it. And it's kind of funny. I don't know what some of these moms or dads will think about their canteens when they get them home, but they look pretty cool. And I was able to bring them up to speed and get them all to that point where they're ready to go. They do need to do some finish sanding and a little filing on them, and then they'll be ready to go. And we have yet to finish sand them, stain them, and then put the sashes around them. And then they will be ready to go. We'll put some beeswax in the middle and melt some down so they'll hold water. And there you have it.